Hey IAs, this podcast is powered by Royal Adjusting. If you're a new, aspiring, or even a veteran property adjuster, head over to royaladjustingservices.com and join their roster for work opportunities. And who knows, Jason Heenan may reject your file personally and give you a phone call. Don't fail on purpose though, okay? Well, welcome to the Adjuster Talk podcast by IA Path. I'm your co-host, Chris Stanley, and I'm joined as always by the founder of this podcast and my co-host, my good friend, Jason Heenan. Jason, do you reject files or am I just making crap up? Is that your job?
It was a great introduction. How about let's just leave it there.
Okay, Jason is going to neither confirm nor deny whether he is the QC guy. All right, so each week, though, here on Adjuster Talk, we bring a panel together and talk about the big questions and topics that independent adjusters face when getting started or even when you're trying to grow your career, because we want to help you get through this. We are all, in some way, shape, or form, veteran adjusters of different pockets of the industry, and we want to help you no matter what side of the industry you find yourself on. And so today's topic, we're going to talk about and I forgot my topic. See, I blanked, guys. Can you believe that? Oh, it's my biggest fear. My biggest fear is blanking. No, what we're going to talk about today is overcoming fear as an independent adjuster. Fear is a huge thing that we face as independent adjusters. And so we're going to talk about how to overcome that through sharing some of our own stories and hopefully through giving some tips and things to take away that as you move forward in your career as either starting or growing, you know how to tackle that. To start off the episode, though, every time we ask an icebreaker question, because although I'm a chatty Cathy, not everybody can jump right in and just start talking about these topics. So we're going to prime the pump, so to speak. We're going to make people be a little vulnerable today. And we're going to ask all of our panelists what their biggest fear is. And so today, along with Jason and I, we have Brad Fancher. He's the director of training at IA Path, and he is also the instructor of auto and heavy equipment at IA Path. And he may know a little something about fear because I've had some conversations with him. So I think he'll have some insights about this. We're also joined by Matthew Allen of AdjusterTV. He creates fear in other people, I believe, by grading their homework from what I've been hearing. So we're going to find out from both of these panelists, as well as Jason and myself, how do we overcome fear as an IA? So we're going to start off with Jason. What is your biggest fear?
And snakes and spiders aren't allowed here, Chris? Is that what you're saying?
If that's a real thing for you, then I want that to be the thing. What's your biggest fear, period? It could be anything.
Oh, man. I think, Chris, I'm 40. And so and 18 years as an adjuster, I think the scariest thing would be that the hard work that we've done as a group, our team, and then the hard work our family has done just went away or evaporated out from under us. It would be disappointing to have to begin again after 18 years of hard work. That's
a good fear. That's scary right there. You just scared
That'll
me.
keep you answering your phone and reading your emails.
Yeah, all right. We're going to throw it over to Brad. Brad, what is your biggest fear, sir?
This is going to be a good podcast. Great topic. I can speak a lot about this. Man, which one? Any, miny, miny, mo. Probably my biggest fear is, and this is just a big answer with a lot of details spread throughout, but I guess fear of failure, and I could elaborate if we had time. I know this is the icebreaker question. So, but yeah, fear of failure. And I'll leave it at that because I could go on and on and on. There's others.
I forgot and neglected to mention that Brad is also our expert on fear at IA Path as well. So he's the one that our people call. He is the one our people call when they are scared out of their minds. They don't call me because I just go, what are you talking about? That's the job. Just do it. Brad is actually an awesome mentor and shepherd and guides them to help them work through their issues. So if you need someone to talk to, Brad's your guy, not me. Okay, I'll be there, but I'll be fake empathy. It's not real. It's not real. seriously though, Matt, what's your greatest fear?
Well, I was going to say bears, for real. I mean, grizzly bears, because they're all over the place. They're all over the place around here. They are monsters. But my actual, like, real greatest fear is getting into a car accident. I have 552,000 miles on that 4Runner, and I put hundreds of thousands of miles on vehicles before that. I haven't been in a wreck, and I feel like there's like some probability, some math statistics, some kind of numbers thing that's going to start catching up with me. And then every time I turn around, I'm going to be getting fender benders, which I'd prefer over the guy falling asleep behind the wheel, which if I have like 30 seconds here, I was leaving my cousin's place a couple of years ago in the fall, and I left at like 5 o'clock in the morning. It was dark out, 2-lane highway, Kansas, and it's a straight road with a little bit of a hill about a mile and a half away, maybe a mile, and still dark outside. I'm cruising along, got my coffee going, and I mean, when you spend a lot of time on the road, you start to, I mean, you get like, you have a like experience with what things should look like. And I noticed something coming down the highway that didn't look right. It was headlights that looked like they were in my lane, right? And I was like, kind of like, was that guy, is that coming right towards me? In 2 lane, just one this way, one that way. And a couple beats, and I was like, that person's definitely in my lane. They're not passing anybody. Slam on the brakes, pulled over onto the shoulder, and as soon as I got onto the shoulder, this car goes boom, 100 miles an hour in my lane. And I'm like sitting there, heart beats 500 beats per minute, shaking for like 10 minutes. Because I mean, if I hadn't like just done that right at that 1 second, so that scares the dickens out of me. Just to be straight vulnerable here, it's fiery car crash. Let's put it that way.
That's a real fear. I can't say it's my biggest fear, but driving our school bus around the country, I feel so much better because I'm the biggest car on the road. I can compete with some semis, right? But when I'm in a little car renting, it terrifies me every time a semi pulls up next to me. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. It's dark. It's time to pull over. My biggest fear would be that I get to the end of my life and I regret how I spent my time. I am terrified of that. That would kind of be probably Brad's, the like ultimate failure, right? Like you get to the end and you look back and you go, I wasted my life and it mattered for nothing. Not that it doesn't need to matter to millions of people or, maybe just my family, but like my life was actually had a purpose to it. And so that is my biggest fear, and probably obsession, unhealthily obsessed over that. So that would be my biggest fear, being vulnerable, is doing that. And so it keeps me in check a lot, and hopefully it's used for good. And hopefully we can figure out some ways based on all our fears and ways we've been dealing with fear, how to help adjusters deal with their biggest fears and how to overcome fear continually in their career. So that's our topic. Great answer as everybody. Super vulnerable. Love it. Although Jason didn't share any tarantula stories like I expected, but he didn't go with the spiders. But okay, we're going to talk about fear. And let's prime the question a little more, because fear is so broad. We can go anywhere, and that's welcome. Go anywhere. But let's start in this particular spot and then venture out from there. We, as new independent adjusters, that's most of the people that listen, veteran adjusters will identify with this right away. They'll already get it. They're like, oh, heck yeah. But the new person coming in is probably feeling really spunky. They have no idea what we're talking about when we say fear. What do you mean fear? I'm not scared, Chris. Give me the dang clipboard. Give me Xactimate. I'll show you who's the boss, right? But the fear comes once you get your first claim, and and that happens. And so whether it's suddenly there's relationship trouble at home because you're on a storm or life has changed so much, or whether it's you get on the roof for the first time and you suddenly realize you're scared of heights. What are some ways to overcome fear in general or specific fears if you have something for it? But I feel like we encounter so many opportunities to be scared whether it's a bilingual insured or any of the things I mentioned. How do we overcome fear? And we're going to start with, let's start with Jason.
All right, Chris, the easiest way to start, I know we want to give examples and talk directly about this, but it's easy for me to talk about probably if we define fear first and what it is to me. And when I find myself scared, it's usually attached to an emotion, a situation where I'm confused, meaning I don't have the information I need. I don't understand what's going on. And, that's, in my opinion, those are negative feelings because your brain is put into the position where it needs to start problem solving. However, it doesn't even know what the problem is or what the problem is based on. So many times when I have that feeling of fear, it is because I'm in a situation I'm either unfamiliar with, don't know how to handle, got some insecurity in there. And the answer is, if fear in any part of your life needs to be filled with wisdom and knowledge. Like, just figure out, be able to analyze your situation, figure it out what it is exactly that you don't know that's causing the fear, and then fill that area up with some sort of understanding, whether it be through research or whatever it takes. But you do not need to feel fear. You need to be able to overcome that outside of the claims business as well. With that being said, a lot of the things that people fear are natural things like height. And I have my own stories where I've been stuck on roofs, and everyone knows somebody who's been stuck on a roof. There was a couple, yeah, there you go. I knew a pilot who got stuck on a 2-story slate roof during a little, like a small sprinkle, but the fire department had to get him off the roof because the slate was wet and there was no way down except the fast way. So, in that situation, safety equipment could have been used very easy. But in this case, a cell phone and a 911 call did it. So when it comes to the natural fears, you have to face those, and you have to do it in a way you trust yourself. And usually it's a good thing if you're feeling fear, like in an example where you're on a roof. You're feeling that fear for a reason, and it's because whether you're doing the calculations or not, your mind is already knows what a serious injury would do or could possibly cause death. So it's good to feel fear. It's good to have awareness when you're in a high situation. As a matter of fact, every roofing injury that we have had at Royal has come from somebody who is overly secure and has lost those feelings of fear. So they don't respect the eaves of the house. They don't respect a plumbing jack or a skylight, and they end up in the worst case situation. So it's okay in that situation to feel it. You need to know why your body is so aware, though, or your mind is so aware when that situation happens. Now, the next place I see, Chris, other than like hardware tool problems where you're in a situation you're not equipped to get all the way through confidently, so you're obviously experiencing fear. The other place I see it is in the interactions. Adjusters get deer in the headlights when they first meet a challenging contractor, or the first time they meet a challenging homeowner. And it's the same thing. Someone's presenting you with problems that you don't readily have something available to give them. So if a contractor is giving you a hard time, a homeowner is giving you a hard time, and you were just sent out there to get information, not given a whole bunch of information to go off of, just hey, you need to go collect information and organize it and give it back to us, which is the job of the field adjuster. It can be difficult dealing with a homeowner, and that can be scary for sure, having those customer interactions. And I think that's why it's important first to have good leadership, have good management, have good support.
Awesome. Love that. Love that. Matt, over to you. What can we do about fear, man?
Well, I would say that in my experience, having more experience can breed confidence, and that tends to kind of like knock fear down. To kind of talk a little bit about what you guys hit on, I don't know if it was this one or a different episode, but fake it till you make it. There's a little bit of truth to that, I think. For me, and what I tell people is, you know, if they have questions, you're never, I mean, as an adjuster, even an experienced adjuster, you're never going to have all the answers all the time. So there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I don't know the answer to that. Let me make a call right now, right? And call my manager, right? Or text somebody that I know is going to be able to give me the answer that may be available. In a lot of cases, sometimes the best thing to do is kind of just keep your mouth shut, right? So if they don't know that you don't know the answer, then they're not going to have that to kind of like, you know, use against you in a way. And we talk about challenging customer interactions, and I think, you know, that's something I'd kind of like to dig a little bit deeper on. You know, I teach that there's a spectrum between complete and total abject terror. Right? You're being chased by a grizzly bear, and you can smell his breath right behind you. He's going 35 miles an hour. You're going 6. It's over. And then the other end, the whole other side of that, the complete opposite side is you just saw your baby's face for the first time, and you heard them cry, and you're holding them in your arms, right? It's pure joy, right? In the middle is a place that I think of as a place that's it lacks total, you know, fear and lacks joy. It's an absence of anxiety, right? So it's just kind of like you're not really feeling either one. And what I teach people is that when you are meeting up with homeowners, you have to understand that it could be anywhere on that spectrum at any time. But for a lot of people in modern, you know, Western society, they're probably somewhere on the terror side, on the fear side, right? Where their anxiety is elevated for whatever reason. They're thinking about all kinds of things that they've got to do, right? You never know if they just got diagnosed with terminal cancer, or they just found out, you know, things that are terrible in their life, right? You know, and TJ mentioned it in a previous episode where the homeowner's spouse of 45 years had died, like, you know, and I've had that happen. I've had homeowners like that just lose it and cancel appointments, inspections while I'm there, because I just can't. I just lost my spouse. I just got back from the funeral. You know, you have to have empathy, right? But you have to also understand that, you know, the fear thing goes both ways, right? So when a homeowner is like, they've got all these things going on in their life, you know, I got to remember to, you know, re-register the tags on the truck, all the things, right? Grocery store, argument with the spouse, and then tree clips the corner of the house, right? Oh my gosh, and water's coming in, right? What do we do? You know, their first thing a lot of people do is the anxiety level is just going to skyrocket, because it's like, this is one more thing, and it's a serious thing because our house is where we live and all of our stuff is, right? The roof protects everything that we own. So the next thought that they have after that, you know, after maybe we got to make some phone calls to get somebody out here to put a tarp over it. Oh no, I have to deal with the insurance company now. Anxiety cranks up even more, right? And so when you call, that's the state they're in, right? So if you're like sitting there being all nervous, which, you know, I mean, it's totally fine. As new people, you're going to be nervous, right? No matter what. But you have to understand that when somebody is reached that state, you have to conduct that interaction with that person in such a way that it doesn't further push them, no matter what, right? Even if you're looking at the loss report and you're like, ooh, I don't know if I could pay for this one or not. Dude, I mean, if that attitude comes through, they're going to pick up on it, right? So I think that the fear and the joy spectrum works both ways. One thing that for me, in dealing with like challenging contractors, because you go on a lot of hailstorms, if you're doing a lot of like cat property, you're going to go on a lot of hailstorms, right? And you're going to run a lot of like insurance restoration specialist guys, right? And they're the wrapped trucks and the lifted trucks, and they're all bodybuilders, and they're wearing their little sisters t-shirts, and you know, and you show up at a house and there's 4 of those trucks parked in the street, and 3 guys are on the roof and 4 guys are in the front yard, and they're all standing around, you know, talking to the homeowner, and you see the homeowner like this, right? And in the circle of like hulking roofing contractor guys, and you're going to pull up in your little 2007 4Runner, right? And that can create a lot of anxiety, right, for yourself. And it can create, even having a lot of experience, if you're always thinking about having, and this is probably the point I would like to make on this, I guess, is that if you're always thinking about these interactions in a negative way, well, oh gosh, there's a contractor and I know it's a storm chaser and it's gonna be a struggle. It's gonna be a fight. He's gonna want to point at bird poop. He's gonna point at this and that and say it's all hail damage. It's not. You're in a fringe area, and this is one of, like, just like the empathy situation where you say, you know, instead of the way to practice empathy outside of work, just the baseline of it is to just to flip the mirror around and think about other people before you think of yourself, right? So in this case, it was, I had to change my whole attitude, my whole, almost my kind of my worldview in a way, I guess, and say, I'm gonna flip this around. I don't know what's going on in that house. I have no idea. I've never been here before. I may have been to the neighbors' houses and didn't find anything, but what if they've got like an old beat up shingle? I might be able to total that roof. I might be able to do it. And it's my job. I'm obligated to keep an open mind when it comes to this homeowner filing a claim for damage, even if I know the contractors were canvassing the area, there really wasn't much damage, and they have like, you know, they've got a conversion rate they're going after. Knock on 100 doors, get, you know, 2 jobs, whatever it is. So I know that's part of it, but still, you know, it's in the area. They might be damage there. So I'm going to conduct this as though I'm going to absolutely, just my job right now is to see if I can total that roof. And when I did that, like the anxiety like went away. So you jump out of the truck, you know, grab your ladder, take your risk photo, got your clipboard, you walk up and you're like, you know, go to the homeowner first, look him in the eye, you know, smile, shake their hand, introduce yourself. And then, you know, to the guys, like, all right, whose job is this? I mean, who's the, you know, who's the head screw on this deal, right? Or whatever you want to say. You know, kind of make it funny. And those guys will chuckle a little bit, you know. I'll tell a joke. I've told this joke 1,000 times. It's the dumbest thing, but it's especially when they have like they have a 3,500, they have a dually that's got a 2-foot lift on it, right? And like spikes coming out of the wheels and ladders all over it and graphics and all this kind of stuff. And I'll say, you know, well, if I got some buses that need jumped, I know who to call. It's every single time. That's very funny. And pretty soon, all the other dudes evaporate. Oh, well, I got to go over this other thing. And then you're left with the one guy, and you get up on the roof and you're like, hey, let's, you know, shoulder to shoulder with this person. Let's see if we can't do something on this roof. You know, what did you guys see? And then just let him talk. Right? And he'll point a bunch of stuff out or whatever. And then you know, the sort of the other side of the sandwich for this that really, really helped, because I'm going to be there all summer long with those guys and they're going to see them again. And if I fight with them, it's going to be a fight every time. Right. The end of it, can't total it, can't pay for it. There's nothing. There's not even spattering on anything. I'm like, well, listen, you know, I really, really want to total this roof out, but honestly, I haven't really seen a whole lot of damage in this neighborhood. Have you guys been over to Greystone? Right? It's 2 miles that way. I've been totaling every single roof I've looked at over there, and I haven't seen really any roofer signs in yards. You guys check that area out. Maybe you should put your efforts in over there, and you probably have a lot less pushback from adjusters over here. Oh yeah, let me show you. Can you send me a pin, man? And then the next time we meet that guy, he's like, all summer long, hey, you know, listen, Matt, you know, we weren't sure on this one. We didn't tell the homeowner anything. We didn't say, you know, if it was damaged or not, but we thought it would be worth checking out. And, you know, whatever you say goes, bro. Whatever you say goes. You know, whatever you say, if you find damage, great. If not, no hard feelings, nothing. We'll just see you on the next one. And it's like my summer's just like immediately for me dropped. The anxiety component of meeting with contractors just disappeared, evaporated, and it was like, you know, sleeping 9.5 hours a night, and like just like my days were like just smooth sailing. So I don't know, shifting the mindset a little bit to have the open mind, to not have an expectation that there's going to be a battle, because that's where a lot of the anxiety and fear comes from in that particular component. Never mind the rest of it. And I mean, Jason, 100%. The people that fall off of anything are the ones that are like, they've gotten into the rhythm of it, and they've gotten complacent. And, you know, it's just like with driving, like I'm so terrified of like, you know, getting in a car accident. I drive even slower now. So it's like when I would get on and off roofs, it was like I'm stepping from, you know, a hot air balloon on the edge of the Grand Canyon to the edge of the Grand Canyon and back every time. Like that's how I'm thinking about it. And, you know, I don't fall off roofs, so I don't get in car accidents. Where's my Bible?
You need to teach James Mathis something about that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Slipping off roofs and stuff. All right, good answer. I like that. Flip the mindset. And then even with the contract relationship, basically make friends, treat them different, change your mindset about how you're going to treat them. That's awesome. Brad, for you, I want to hear how you deal with fear, sir. What can we tell independent adjusters and appraisers about how to deal with fear?
Yeah, well, I think you've got to understand that there is value in fear, like Jason and Matt have already alluded to. I don't feel good if I'm around folks that are just completely fearless. You know, that's abnormal. That's not human. So, you know, under having a healthy perspective of fear that, you know, fear either has the potential to paralyze me, shut me down, you know, destroy me, or it has the opportunity to grow me. If I will just choose to see it correctly. And, you know, you can, fear has the ability to open you up, create the opportunity to grow courageous. And you know, Jason alluded to knowledge. I think that's when I feel the most afraid. You know, if we're just focusing on business and adjusting, when because again, I go back to my number one fear of failure. If I don't know what I'm doing, then immediately I become afraid. And I don't know, there's been opportunities where I just realized, listen, I'm not being hired at this moment because I know it all. I'm being hired because I'm going to become the one in the room that's not the know-it-all, but I'm going to be the one that's ready to learn it all. I'm going to stay teachable. You know, it's amazing. You can call into some of these firms and these veteran appraisers, veteran adjusters, just simply being honest. Listen, you know, I'm not rejecting this claim, but I don't, you know, I had to do this a lot when I first started saying yes to heavy equipment. You know, can you help me out here? You know, so that's some things when it comes to claims, is just being willing to, and this is what we teach in our heavy equipment course. You know, we live in an age where there's so many resources now, that if you'll just give yourself, stay up an hour later tonight because you know you're looking at your first heavy truck tomorrow. Stay up an hour later, read a couple of articles, watch a few videos, you know, give yourself to learning that, so that, you know, you walk into that situation with just a little bit more knowledge than what you had. You know, I think some key things to battling fear, because you're going to experience it, you know, is having a strategy for growth, whether it's personal growth or your company growth, having a clear strategy, creating clear boundaries. You know, what am I going to say yes to? What am I going to say no to? You know, value system, or you'll end up saying yes to everything. But again, you know, like I said, I'm almost 4 years into this, but I'm still, I don't know if I can claim any success at all. And someone was to ask me, how did you achieve that success? It would be because in the face of fear, I didn't run. I just chose to you know, realize, okay, Brad, you've got to learn something about this if you're going to win or if you're going to overcome. And so, yeah, I just think, I mean, to me, fear only has one of two powers. It can either shut you down or it can grow you up. And I don't know. I've really never had the opportunity to run for much. You know, I was in the situation, you know, especially if you're an independent, you know, I'm it. I can't just go get another job. I'm running a company here. So I've got to embrace this opportunity, and let fear grow me in this situation. Let it force me to learn. in this. So those are just some insights or some things that I would give, you know, to correctly or addressing fear in a healthy way. And one more element, if I can plug iPath, you know, that is the value in being a part of a community, you know, valuing relationships. If you're, you know, if you're the one if you're trying to fly solo, man, I don't see how people do it in this industry if they're flying solo. But if you're in a community of adjusters and appraisers, you know, in the face of fear, reaching out to them, hey, what would you do? How did you do this? I just think those are really important. If you're wanting to overcome fear, you've got to have community or relationships, you know, and it may not be a path, but at least you need to have a few men and women that have been where you're wanting to go. You know, while you're getting your software, while you're getting your equipment, you know, these are all the tools that you need. You know, you need to add relationships in there as well. Those are going to be very valuable to you if you're wanting longevity in this industry. So
Awesome. I love that. I love what everybody's saying. It's so true and so valuable to think that fear and facing fear means that it's one, keeping you safe, basically, or if you overcome that fear and move forward, it's going to grow you. I love that, Brad. Because I think if we recognize fear when it comes, that it is fear, and we can name it and we can point at it and say, hey, this is fear. This isn't reckless what I'm doing necessarily, but this is me being afraid of stepping forward, stepping onto the ladder, stepping into a new career, stepping forward in something. Then you know you're on the verge of something potentially great. We don't feel fear staying safe in the same thing we always know. And so if you're going to be continually pushing as an independent adjuster, as a business owner, as a father, as a husband, as a friend into new territory with those things, then you're going to feel fear, but recognize that, like Brad said, this is the opportunity to grow. This means I'm doing something worth doing. And whether that's getting off the roof, that's important. You got to get off that roof sometime. You're going to feel some fear because this is an important point. It's getting married. I'm scared to commit. Wow, that's an important point, right? But if you don't push those fears, you don't get all the benefits that come with it. So as long as you don't allow that fear to back you down and shut you down, I think you know, you're going, as Brad said, to grow so much. And the one point I would give personally is when you feel that fear, recognize it, claim it, but then move through it quickly. Don't agonize yourself over and over and over about this thing. You're going to, if there is pain on the other side of this fear, you're going to experience it twice. That's, I don't know who said it. I don't remember the quote, but basically you're going to feel the fear once, and it's going to be painful. And then you're going to feel whatever hurts on the other side, and that's going to be painful. So why feel the pain twice? Feel it, recognize it, realize you're on the cusp of something great, step forward with confidence, as safe as you can, be smart about it, reach out to people like Brad's saying, but realize that that's what it is, and just get it over with. You know, don't stay up on the roof for 8 hours when you could have had some safety gear, right? Let's be prepared in whatever situation and be able to get down off that roof, and hypothetically speaking. So, all right, we're wrapping this episode up, and actually these series of episodes. Matt, I thank you so much for being here. The last 4 episodes, this was huge and awesome. Brad, you have anything to end with? Go ahead now. I want to give Matt final words here. Anything? No? Jason,
great, man.
Yep. Anything to add before we close out?
Face your fears. Fill it with knowledge.
Face your fears, fill it with knowledge. Love it. Matt, anything you want to say?
Well, yeah. So I'd like to we talk about getting stuck up on a roof. I've been stuck up on a couple of roofs, and I was in. Yeah, right. Well, I mean, even off of one story, so I was in Nebraska, and it was like howling wind, and I didn't tie my ladder off. My phone was in the car, and you know, it's like a 3 or 4 12 pitch. It's just a super simple roof. And I hear this wham, ladder falls off, gets blown down in the front yard, and there's like nobody around, and I'm like, what am I going to do? And I'm like trying to figure out what I'm going to do, and I see across the street, it's just all little tiny little like cracker box houses with little like covered front porches on them, and this little old lady who was in her 70s at least, probably in her 80s. See the door open up, and she's got a little tray with some tea on it, and she sets it down, and then she has a seat and starts drinking tea and just kind of like looking out across the neighborhood. And I was like, I did one of these deals, and she goes across the street. And then I was like, I told her to come over, right, with my hand signals, and she gets up and walks across the street, and I was like, can you help me? Is there well, I can't remember what I asked. I was like, can you help me call somebody to, help me get my, because the ladder was just laying right there. And she just ignores me and starts picking the ladder up. And like, she lifted it up and got it close. And I was like, ma'am, you don't have to do that. And I'm like, but if you can get it up to right about here, I can grab it. And pulled it up. And I said, thank you so much. And she walked off across and sat down on her porch and had tea. And, but yeah, I would say, this is a great one. I mean, fear is I think it drives a lot of human nature and a lot of the decisions we make and the decisions that we don't make. But and to kind of segue this into a little bit about being an independent adjuster, it's a big jump. I mean, what makes this particular career unique is that, like Brad was saying, you're your own boss, you're your own company, right? You're running a little bitty tiny business, right? And that's where, where I figured out that there was an incentive, there were incentives there to be fast and good. That's the same kinds of, it's marketing, it's networking, it's all that stuff. But I think, when people, when they watch these conversations, whether they're, just tire kicking the industry or they're trying, they've learned about it and they want to get into it. They've got to be a part of community, right? They've got to get involved and talk to people outside of, there's some benefits to Facebook and things like that, but to get into like a really, really dedicated community and I know iPath has got one where the people that are in there are serious about being adjusters, and you're getting like solid, true, actionable information that's tested, and it's not like speculation or a bunch of loud talking from the guy who just has the strongest opinion, probably usually wrong. So going forward for people, I think that they, if they want to become an independent adjuster, they have to have the right mindset about it. They got to understand that we're independent, right? We're kind of a unique sort of this is a pretty kind of unique industry, but also that they have to be prepared. They have to learn how to use the tools. They have to practice. They have to practice empathy. They got to practice with their gear. They got to learn the software. They got to practice in the software. They have to do all these things before they ever get their hands on a real claim, because that's only the one little small part of it is doing the claim. They have to do all the rest of the things, right? We talk about, on big hurricanes, Taco Bell's closed, and where are you going to eat lunch, right? Where are you going to stay in your hotel? And you're going to be, you thought you could get this much work done during the day, but you can't because you're in the car for 4.5 hours, just driving back and forth. So I encourage people, and one of the reasons why I started AdjusterTV, and I know you started iPath, is for this reason, was to provide a place where people can come and get real information from somebody who's done it for a long time and who's building relationships with people, that have done it for a long time. They're in the industry, and they are doing the work, and getting. I try to think of AdjusterTV as like, I'm going to pass information from you to the viewer, to the person who's watching the video, right? So I'll interview Pilot, I'll interview you, I'll interview whoever I can get my hands on. That's why I go to these conferences all the time, so I can get like the information from the horse's mouth. Can you, as a brand new adjuster, go work daily claims at Advanced Adjusting? Well, let's ask Advanced Adjusting, right? So yeah, I guess to kind of like wrap up my last word, people need to seek out mentorship. They need to take advantage of these resources that are available to them that we didn't have when we got started. I mean, we had like smoke signals when I got started and paper file and everything else. We didn't have wasn't anything on the internet. So, but yeah, so I'm so proud of you, what you've been doing, Chris, and I'm excited that we've got, we partner up on things, and it's a very cool relationship we've built.
Well, I super appreciate you being here on the podcast, Matt, and I am honored to be a friend of yours, be a friend of Jason's, and that we've all been able to bring this whole thing together to work together to help educate the adjusters. And I think to wrap up, Matt's long final word is don't forget to ask the little old lady for help, whether that's Brad's the little old lady, whether it's me, whether it's Jason, whether it's Matt, whether it's somebody on Facebook or the IA firm. Ask for help, because that's a great way to eliminate fear early on. And until next week, keep walking your path and claiming your life, and get out there and close some claims, because it's claim time.